Hello, I'm Ray, and today we'll be looking at the HTC U11 and rate with 6GB of RAM and the best camera on a smartphone, as they claimed. The question is, how good it's gonna perform in reality? Let's have a look. Metal and glass design is nothing new, and the U11's borrowed the same design language from the U Ultra. The same liquid glass surface is here, but this time around HTC's taken the same design to another level. The color changes as you look at the phone at different angles, and the amazing silver we've got here is actually got a light or pale sky blue tint. With that super glossy mirror-like finish, it is indeed a delicate piece of artwork when it's cleaned properly. Other than just the design and the colors, HTC's also lifted the build quality to another level. Instead of putting a plastic frame between the glass and the metal frame, the front panel on the U11 curves and makes the metal frame flawlessly smooth. Thanks to the upgraded build quality, the U11 is not only gorgeous to look at, but also silky smooth to hold. The volume rockers and the power button are also the strongest I've touched. When it comes to build quality, HTC's nailed it. But that 71.4% screen-to-body ratio, especially the chin, where the navigation keys are still ridiculously placed, is it a must to keep those bezels and make the buttons unbalanced? Those logos and printings are also way more noticeable on the technically silver variant. The antenna bands are also way more noticeable than those on the actual blue one. Not a flawless design, but close, and certainly a gorgeous phone. Moving on to the hardware, we can either insert two SIMs or a microSD card as usual. LED notification light and NFC chip are also a must. Wait, the U11's got way more cutouts for the 3D audio recording setup. One right next to the front camera, one near the bottom edge on the back, one on the top side, and the very last one right next to the USB Type-C port, which has also got USB on-the-go support. Last but not least, the fastest fingerprint sensor on any HTC phones. It also doubles as a home button, as always. Oh yeah, IP67 water and dust resistant, same as the iPhone 7. Overall, other than those bezels, it is a gorgeous phone, with top-notch build quality. When it comes to features and the interface, however, nothing's changed dramatically. Existing HTC supporters will get used to it within seconds. But for those who are switching from a Pixel or even a Samsung, the interface here is indeed old-fashioned and look dated, even though it runs Android 7.1.1 out of the box. Speaking of Android nougat, the Sense is light, but it's got all the new features including multi-window, and it's also carried all the HTC goodies, like double tap to wake and sleep, those freestyle themes. You can only get that little cute Naruto here on an HTC phone. And don't forget that kinda gimmicky but actually really handy edge sensing feature. The most natural thing you might want to do with it with a squeeze gesture could be firing up the camera app and taking some pictures right away. It becomes even more handy when it comes to selfies, when your thumb cannot reach the camera shutter button. It's also smart enough to distinguish a short squeeze or a long one, flipping between the front camera or the back one, or maybe capturing the screen. It's a complete and well thought out package. Can't believe it's their first try on making squeezable phones. HTC Sense companions also here, and popping up life-saving recommendations, like weather forecast, fitness tracking, and traffic conditions, like that. But Google Assistant does all that. Oh, mind you, HTC's also promised Amazon's Alexa on the U11. It's a features-packed phone. How about performance? Driving the light and well-optimized HTC Sense, the U11 flies during day-to-day navigation. Now put it right next to the S8, simple apps like Instagram, thanks to the more responsive system and those less fancy transition animation. The U11 kills the S8 every single time, every single app. Facebook, the same. The U11's also milliseconds faster than the S8. But to be fair, you won't notice it in day-to-day navigation. However, the U11 further widens the lead in the app opening speed test. It used just 25 seconds to open all the simple apps, compared to the average of around 30 seconds. Large games were also launched reasonably fast. It crossed the line not only way faster than last year's flagship, but also the few months old U11. It's also got nothing to worry about in the second round. With that 6GB of RAM, all the apps have been kept in memories for sure, but 6GB of RAM also means it is iPhone-like silky smooth during app switching. Just like the XZ Premium, the U11 is actually one of the very few smoothest phones I've used. The Adreno 540 GPU also kills all the games on Play Store right now. If you can live with that old-fashioned HTC Sense interface, the U11 delivers extra smooth experience with tons of personalization settings and is extra features packed. Speaking of gaming though, the screen's inevitably important. The 5.5 inches Quad HD Super LCD 5 display here is great, but in the year of HDR displays, HTC lags behind in that category. The black level, contrast, and the viewing angle are not the best on an LCD display out there. The brightness shrinks significantly when the screen is tilted, and the white balance favors red more than the others. Still is a vivid, saturated, and bright display. No issue at all while using under direct sunlight. And thankfully we can modify the white balance inside the settings. Not the best display for sure, but a decent one. But if you're looking for stuffs that are more than decent, the audio quality is brilliant. Yeah, it lacks a 3.5mm headphone jack, but thankfully again, they've listened to their customer finally, and put a dongle inside the box. This external 24-bit hi-fi deck actually delivers top-notch audio quality, that soundstage, and the clear separation between the vocal and even each type of instruments just blow my ears to space. The audio quality on the U11 is far better than probably the S8. The XZ Premium, or maybe other mainstream flagships, is also got no issue driving the XP A3, which has a relatively high impedance. The U Sonic earphones also delivers better audio quality than I've expected. The warm and bassy tone's still there, but the key is the U11 is designed to deliver personalized music listening experience with its own U Sonic earphones, through detecting an individual's ear canal's structure. After turning on the U-Sonic feature, the highs are now much more pronounced, and the overall audio quality is magnificent, considering what it is. Unfortunately, that magic only works with the bundled U-Sonic earphones. Anyway, the boom sound dual speaker setup on the other hand also contributes to the extraordinary multimedia experience on the U11. Not necessarily a real balanced stereo speaker setup, but they sound really loud and rich. The U11's got way more surprises than we've expected. Finally, we've come to the supposedly main key feature of the phone, the camera. So first of all, the ultra-pixel things come to the third generation. But actually that 12-megapixel sensor with each pixel measured at 1.4 micron, and f1.7 aperture and optical image stabilization is more or less the same as the S7. Backed with electronic stabilization, the U11 captures surprisingly stable handheld footages, with literally no jello effect at all. Unfortunately, only at 1080p. Once you've switched to 4K recording, just get a gimbal, otherwise stick with 1080p. However, 3D recordings again blown everything else on the market away, rich and crystal clear. It will also adjust the gain level and the equalizer as long as you zoom in to the audio source, thanks to the acoustic focus. Slow motion recordings also got a decent upgrade. It's now recording 1080p, still at 120 frames per second, but compared to what HTC's offered on the U Ultra, 1080p is a respectable upgrade. It's now one of the best out there in terms of clarity and sharpness. Speaking of sharpness, the front shooter on the U11's got 16 megapixels, backed with an f2.0 aperture, again put it right next to the S8. The color temperature, dynamic range and the brightness are shockingly close. but in terms of clarity and details capturing, the U11's the clear winner. Alright, back on the main camera finally. So why would DxOMark give the U11 the highest ever score on a smartphone, which is 90, when I've dug deep into how the U11 handles the color saturation, dynamic range, contrast, and most importantly, the sharpness and artifact. I mean, no artifact at all. I've got the idea, more on that in a second, but let's take a look at a couple of more shots first. Now the question is it gonna outperform the S8? Under broad daylight, kinda yes. You're right, the S8 tends to expose the shadows significantly more than the U11, but the contrast and the details of the clouds are much better on the U11. It also stays true to the actual environment, adding not even a hair of extra sharpness and saturation. Those over-sharpening effect and the saturated colors on the S8, however, make the images a little bit unrealistic. Another major difference would be the white balance. The U11 again stays true to what it looks like in reality, while the S8 favors red and blue way more than it has to be. And interestingly, the U11's also captured more details on the clouds. The images taken with the S8 might look brighter at the first glance, but the truth is the U11 handles the highlights better while maintaining the same level of details in the shadows. And before we move on to low-light performance, here we've got a really beautiful bright red chrysanthemum. The U11s once again told the actual story and rendered the red correctly. Unfortunately, the white balance of the whole image taken with the S8 has shifted to the reddish side. Under broad daylight, the U11's arguably the new king. Low-light performance, however, is where the S8 used to shine. The S8 captured the night brighter than it is as usual, but the U11 did a really great job in rendering all the details on the bushes and the leaves. Again, the S8 captured a brighter image, but the cooler bluish-white balance on the U11 captured what it should look like. The image also pops out a little bit more thanks to the higher contrast ratio. So basically we can draw the conclusion. The U11 captures what we see and adds literally no after effect at all. The S8, however, did a really great job in drawing our attention by boosting the brightness and the saturation. It also handles digital noise better than the U11. But the U11's undoubtedly nailed it. We are talking top-notch image quality on either of them. It's got a really beautiful design, second to none processing power, fantastic multimedia experience, and one of the best cameras. Let's see if the 3000 mAh battery delivers good enough battery life. After 4 hours of YouTube videos playback at maximum screen brightness, the battery left was on the lower end. But considering how bright the display can actually go, the second round of the test might tell the story better, doing all the tests at 50% brightness. After an hour of YouTube videos playback, an hour of Facebook surfing, and an hour of Clash Royale gameplay, Altogether, 3 hours of media consumption, 64% of the battery was left. We are talking the same incredible experience we've got on the Mate 9 and the P10 Plus. Completing the package with Quick Charge 3.0, battery life on the U11's great. A gorgeous, delicate liquid glass surface design, with some amazing colors that changes as where and how you look at it. The best ever build quality with IP67 water and dust resistant, and all the hardware we need. That's 6GB of RAM, day-to-day navigation's as speedy as we've expected. Also the brilliant Ultra Pixel 3 camera, loud and rich boom sound dual speaker setup, and stunning headphone audio quality. With a decent display and battery life, the only flaw I can think of would be those iPhone-like bezels. So there we have it, the HTC U11. Like it if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. There are also 2 more videos here for you to watch next. See you next time.